Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So now we will be starting with our unit number 3 related to Negotiable Instruments Act. Now, negotiable instrument, most part of the negotiable instrument which we will be discussing, that everyone is aware of. We will be talking here about check, types of check, endorsement of check. Then we will be talking about the DD, or how we transfer debt from one person to another person. That we are going to discuss in negotiable instruments. So first we will start with the meaning of negotiable instrument. Negotiable instrument is a written document by which a right is created in favor of some person. That is the meaning of instrument. It is of consisting of two words. One is negotiable, the other one is instrument. The meaning of instrument is written document by which right is created in favor of some person, whereas negotiable instrument means the document which entitles a person to sum of money and which is transferable from one person to another by mere delivery and by endorsement and delivery. Can anyone explain me the meaning of this definition? Sorry. Yes, okay. So negotiable instrument, in simple words, we can say that it's a written document through which debt of a person transfers from one to other. For example, if Mr. A has taken loan from Mr. B and he has given it in writing that I owe 5,000 rupees from Mr. B. I will pay Mr. B this 5,000 rupees by so and so date, by so and so period. Then we can say that this particular document, if all the formalities are complete, what those formalities are, that we will be discussing in the later part of the session. If on a piece of paper it is written that I will pay Mr. So and so a particular amount by this date, and all the formalities are complete, then we can say that that particular written document will be called as negotiable instrument. Negotiable instrument is an instrument which can be transferred from one person to another, and the person who is in custody of this negotiable instrument, that written document which says that he will be paid for this particular amount within this particular period, and on showing that particular instrument or written document, he can recover that particular amount from the person who has made that particular instrument. So in simple words, it's a written document which can be transferred from one person to another person, and the person who is in possession of this written document can claim the amount which is mentioned on that document at the end of the period which is mentioned on the document, and that is called as negotiable instrument. Negotiable means which can be transferred from one person to another person. Instrument means written document. So a written document which can be transferred from one person to another person is called as negotiable instrument. In simple words, we can say that this is the meaning of negotiable instrument. Now, negotiable instrument is the method of transferring a debt from one person to another person. Mr. A owes 5,000 from Mr. B, and he has promised Mr. B that at the end of 1 month or 30 days, he will pay this amount to Mr. B. And he has put it in writing, and that paper is with Mr. B. That will be called as negotiable instrument. Now, the term negotiable instrument is not actually defined in the Act, Negotiable Instrument Act. It is written in the Act that negotiable instrument means and includes any document which satisfy the condition of negotiable instrument can be included in this list. So it is not that only promissory note can be called as a negotiable instrument. Bill of exchange only can be called as a negotiable instrument, or check can be called as negotiable instrument. These three are considered as the major types of negotiable instrument. There can be other type of negotiable instrument. So any document can become a negotiable instrument if it satisfies the conditions mentioned in the negotiable instrument. As we have seen in the Contract Act, that if all the essential elements are present, then any contract can be called as a valid contract. Same is the case here also. That any written document, if has all the essentials of negotiable instrument, that written document, although it is not promissory note, not check, not bill of exchange, still that document can be called as a negotiable instrument. Why? Because all the essential elements of negotiable instrument is present in that particular document. So that is the definition and meaning of negotiable instrument. Now, characteristics of negotiable instrument. Number one, freely transferable. Second is title of the holder, free from all defects. Next one, recovery. And the last one is presumptions. Now, freely transferable. There is no condition involved here. It is freely transferable. It's a document on which it is written by one person that he owes a particular amount from another person, and by the end of this date he will pay this amount to that particular person who is holding that particular, who is possessing that particular document. So without any condition, no conditions are involved. If conditions are involved, say if Mr. A, who owes 5,000 from Mr. B, he writes on the document that I will pay you this 5,000 rupees on a condition that after receiving this payment of 5,000, immediately you will give me a loan of 10,000 rupees. So here condition is included. It is not freely transferable. Freely transferable means without any condition it can be transferred from one person to another person. जब भी हम कंडीशन डाल देंगे तो वो नेगोशिएबल इंस्ट्रूमेंट नहीं. नेगोशिएबल इंस्ट्रूमेंट मतलब वो डॉक्यूमेंट जो एक व्यक्ति से दूसरे व्यक्ति के पास इजीली विदाउट एनी कंडीशन ट्रांसफर किया जा सकता है. दैट डॉक्यूमेंट इज कॉल्ड एज नेगोशिएबल. इफ मिस्टर ए writes on the document that I owe 5,000 to Mr. B. By the end of 30th day from today, the date is mentioned, I promise that I will pay this 5,000 rupees to Mr. B. No condition is involved. It is an example of negotiable instrument. But as we have just discussed the example, that if a condition is included, that okay, I am ready to pay you 5,000 rupees which I have taken from you as loan. But again, in that you have to promise that Mr. B has to promise that after receiving 5,000, immediately he will give me the another loan of 5,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees. So condition is involved कि 5,000 मैं कब देने के लिए तैयार हूं, जब मिस्टर बी मेरे लिए ये कार्य करेंगे तब. अगर कंडीशन इन्वॉल्व हो गया तो इट इज नॉट फ्रीली ट्रांसफरेबल. फ्री ट्रांसफरेबल. फ्रीली मींस विदाउट एनी कंडीशन. जब कोई भी कंडीशन नहीं है तो वो फ्री है. ट्रांसफर मींस जब एक व्यक्ति से दूसरे व्यक्ति के हाथ में वो डॉक्यूमेंट जाता है, then it is called as freely transferable. So that is the meaning of freely transferable. Second one, title of the holder, free from all defects. Holder means the person who is in possession of that written document. Mr. A, who has taken loan of 5,000 or who owe say 50,000 rupees to Mr. B. He has given in writing that I will pay this 50,000 by the end of this particular date. And that document is now in the possession of Mr. B. It is said that the document which is in possession of the holder is free from all defects. Free from all defects means here it is the responsibility of Mr. A, who is given that writing in writing that he has to pay that 50,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees, whatever the amount is mentioned on that document, to Mr. B, who is holding that document before the end or by the end of that particular day which is mentioned on that document. Here it is not expected that Mr. B should ensure before receiving the document that whether Mr. A is having 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, the amount mentioned on the document, in his account or not. आपके पास 50,000 है या नहीं, 10,000 है या नहीं, 20,000 है या नहीं, जो आपने उसमें लिख के दिया है, ये जवाबदारी बी की नहीं है, ये सारी जवाबदारी ए की है. तो होल्डर who is called as B, who is supposed to get that amount from Mr. A, is free from all defects. उसका राइट है कि जब वो डॉक्यूमेंट बैंक में देता है, अगर चेक 50,000 का 10,000 का दिया गया है और पोस्ट डेटेड चेक है 10 दिन के बाद, 15 दिन के बाद, 15 दिन के बाद अगर वो चेक बैंक में वो डालता है मिस्टर बी, तो वो अमाउंट क्लियर होना ही चाहिए। अगर वो अमाउंट क्लियर नहीं होता है तो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी इज ओनली ऑफ मिस्टर ए, इट इज नॉट ऑफ मिस्टर बी। यहां पर कभी भी मिस्टर बी को ये नहीं बोला जाएगा कि आपने पहले क्यों नहीं पूछा मिस्टर ए को डालने से पहले बैंक में चेक, कि आज 15 दिन खत्म हो गए, आपने 15 दिन बाद का चेक दिया था, आज 15 दिन खत्म हो गए, क्या मैं बैंक में चेक डाल दूं? ये पूछने की जरूरत नहीं है। वाई? बिकॉज इट इज सेड दैट द टाइटल ऑफ द होल्डर इज फ्री फ्रॉम ऑल डिफेक्ट्स। नेक्स्ट वन, रिकवरी। The amount which is mentioned on the written document, on the negotiable instrument, is to be fully recovered. 5,000 लिखे हुए वहां पर कि 30 दिन के अंदर मैं आपको 5,000 रुपए दूंगा। पोस्ट डेटेड चेक है 5,000 रुपए का। यहां पर यह नहीं हो सकता कि एक एक हजार के इंस्टॉलमेंट में आप लीजिए और 5 महीने में आपका पूरा पैसा क्लियर हो जाएगा। अगर ऐसा है तो इट विल बी called as that conditions are involved, and if the conditions are involved there cannot be a negotiable instrument, because the meaning of negotiable instrument is which can be freely transferred from one person to another person. Whatever is mentioned on the document is to be honored by the person who has put it in writing. If that person is not honoring, that means 5,000 rupees check, post dated check was issued to Mr. B. And on that particular date, when the check was presented in the bank or deposited in the bank informed Mr. B that Mr. A's account doesn't have 5,000 rupees. It is having only 4,000 rupees. So you can prepare a check of 4,000 rupees and you can withdraw 4,000 rupees. That is not acceptable in negotiable instrument, because whatever the amount is mentioned, it is to be recovered fully. Now, last one is presumptions. Now, presumptions mean the small things or the essential elements of negotiable instrument. For example, on the negotiable instrument, it is very necessary that name of the person should be written, date should be written, it should be properly signed. If the amount is more, then properly it should be that stamp should be fixed, address should be clear. So all these small things should be mentioned in the negotiable instrument, and that is called as presumptions. If it is not present, then it cannot be called as a negotiable instrument. Check is released, check is issued, but no date is there, or date is there but signature is not there. Date and signature is there, name is not there. So if such thing happens, that is not a valid negotiable instrument. So presumption means the essential elements which make a negotiable instrument a valid instrument. Now the meaning of presumptions we will be discussing. First one is consideration. Yes, anyone who can tell me what is the meaning of consideration here? So far we have discussed that negotiable instrument is an instrument which is written in form and which can be freely transferred from one person to another person. Whatever is mentioned on the written document, that is negotiable instrument, is to be honored by the person who has created that negotiable instrument. If 5,000 is mentioned on the negotiable instrument, the date is mentioned on the negotiable instrument, on that particular date, that 5,000 should be transferred in the account of the person who is holding that written document or negotiable instrument. That is the meaning of negotiable instrument so far. Now, anyone who can give me the meaning of consideration here? What is consideration here? I hope that the meaning of this word consideration is everyone is aware of, because we have discussed that in chapter number 1 under Contract Act, under Contract of Indemnity and Contract of Guarantee, as well as we have discussed in Contract of Agency also. Yes, consideration.
It's a payment or reward.
Payment or
Reward
reward. Payment means what?
means
What payment you are talking about?
means consideration. If I have to purchase a small book, then it will be there is a small consideration. Means there is a some amount.
Very good. Very good. What's your name?
Mahesh Bujwa.
Very good. It is absolutely correct. Here, consideration means amount. The amount that is to be transferred from one person to another is nothing but it is called consideration under Negotiable Instrument Act. That amount should be mentioned. Everything is mentioned. Name is mentioned, date is mentioned, whether it is a post-dated check or a bearer check, a AC account payee check, everything is mentioned, signed, and everything is mentioned. But amount is not mentioned. कितने अमाउंट का चेक है, अगर वो ही मेंशन नहीं होगा तो वो चेक वैलिड होता है क्या?
No.
Same is the case here with. Very good. So it is absolutely correct. Consideration. Consideration here means amount. The amount should be mentioned on the negotiable instrument. Very important. Next one, date. Very simple. Everyone is aware of that date is to be mentioned. Then time of acceptance. Time of acceptance means when it was given or handed over to the other party. Post dated check has been signed or promissory note has been prepared or bill of exchange has been prepared, and now that is being issued or given to the another person. That is called as time of acceptance. Time of transfer, when the person will be receiving that amount, that will be called as time of transfer. Or when the person for whom that negotiable instrument is prepared, when he gets the actual possession of that instrument, that can be called as time of transfer. Order of endorsement. Now, order of endorsement in detail we will be discussing in the meaning and types of endorsements. Various types of endorsements are there. In simple words, here in brief, that when the document is produced in the bank, it is called as endorsement. That everything is present in the post dated check on that particular day. If it is issued, it is said that it is endorsed, it is given for endorsement, it is given for approval of the bank. Whatever amount is mentioned, it should be transferred from the person who has given that particular check or negotiable instrument to the account who is endorsing, who is submitting that particular written document. Stamp should be there. If the amount is more than 5,000 rupees, then it should be properly stamped. Next, holder presumed to be holder in due course. The person who is holding that negotiable instrument will be considered as the person or the right person in the due course. Due course means till the time is over. एक महीने के लिए वो चेक उसके पास है, तो इन दी ड्यू कोर्स मींस एक महीने तक उस चेक का उसके पास पोजेशन वैलिड माना जाएगा. लास्ट वन इज प्रूफ प्रोटेस्ट. Proof protest, again we will be discussing in detail later on. Now proof protest is divided into two types. It is called as, first one is called as noting and the other one is called as protest. So noting and protest is, we can say, the combination of these two terms, noting and protest, under proof protest. That if the promissory note is dishonored, then what are the options available to the person? You might be aware of what is the validity of a check.
6 months.
3 months.
Is it so?
3 months, sir.
Yes. Earlier it was 6. Now it is
Okay.
3. So proof protest. Now under the Contract Act also we have discussed damages. Under that we had discussed a type of damage which was called as vindictive damage. Now these damages can be given under only two conditions. First condition was that if there is violation in the contract of marriage or breach of contract of marriage, and the second condition was that if a banker dishonors your valid check without any valid reason, then you are having a right that not only you can file a suit for damages, but the court can also give punishment to the person. It can be the bank manager, it can be the cashier, the person who is responsible for dishonoring the valid check. So that is called as proof protest. That if your valid negotiable instrument, now 3 types of negotiable instruments we will be discussing. First one is promissory note, then we will be talking about the bill of exchange, and the last one is check. These 3 important we will be taking up for discussion because it is included in the syllabus. Rest various are there, but we will not be discussing those. So if your promissory note is not accepted, what options, what rights are available, that we will be discussing there. So proof protest is if the promissory note is not accepted, what are the rights available to you and under which conditions your negotiable instrument, it can be promissory note, it can be bill of exchange, it can be a check, which can be dishonored, which can be rejected. तो कौन से कंडीशन है जिसमें वो रिजेक्ट किया जा सकता है, और अगर वो रिजेक्ट होता है तो क्या आपके पास कोई राइट है, क्या आपके पास कोई ऑप्शन अवेलेबल है, तो दैट वी विल बी डिस्कसिंग. Now 3 types of negotiable instrument we will be discussing. First one is promissory note, then bill of exchange, and the last one is check. Now promissory note. Now promissory note, a promissory note is an instrument in writing and it is not a bank note or currency note. What does it mean? It's a written document, but it is not a bank note or a currency note. It is different than that. What does it mean? Yes, what does it mean? Currency note, everyone is aware of. What is currency note? सबको पता है. Currency note, bank note or currency note. Yes, everyone is aware of that. Yes, sir.
Note is
Yes.
a paper money.
It is
A paper money.
paper money, for example. Yes, it is correct. For example,
Notes of 200 rupees, 2000
very good, very good,
10 rupees, 50 rupees.
very good, very good. So it is absolutely correct. So that notes, which are also called as currency notes, they are not considered as part of promissory note. Promissory note is a type of negotiable instrument in writing, but it is different from currency notes. Although it is written in the currency note that I promise to pay the bearer, or what is written in the note, the value of the note, it is written, I promise to pay the bearer this much of amount, or I order this much of amount. 200 रुपए की नोट है, उसके ऊपर लिखा हुआ रहता है, अलग अलग भाषाओं में लिखा रहता है. तो वो बैंक नोट, वो करेंसी नोट इज डिफरेंट फ्रॉम द नेगोशिएबल इंस्ट्रूमेंट. सेकेंड important feature of negotiable instrument is it contains an unconditional undertaking. Unconditional undertaking. I promise to pay the bearer, or I promise to pay Mr. So and so 5,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, 15,000 rupees, 11,000 rupees, 12,000 rupees, whatever the amount is, before so and so date or by so and so date. Earlier also we have discussed that if conditions are involved, there cannot be a negotiable instrument. Same feature here also is of this promissory note. Promissory note contains an unconditional undertaking. In example also we will be discussing unconditional. I promise to pay. It should be written, I promise to pay Mr. So and so this much of amount by this much of date. So that is called as promissory note. If conditions are included, I will pay Mr. So and so this much of amount if Mr. A do this for me. This is condition involved, and if conditions are involved, then it cannot be a promissory note. And promissory note, very simple, it's a written document where promise is made by the person who is making that document. Next one, signed by the maker. It has to be signed by the person, otherwise it will not be a valid promissory note. To pay a certain sum of money only. Certain sum of money means what? What do you mean by certain sum of money? what is certain sum of money? Certain sum of money. Very simple, everyone is aware of. Certain sum of money. What is it? To pay a certain sum of money only. Certain sum of money only means what? Under essential elements of valid contract, we had discussed the term certainty, that the terms and conditions of the contract should be certain. Then only a contract can be called as valid contract. Same is the case here also. Here we are talking about certainty. Which certainty here we are talking about? Very simple, and every one of you is aware of that. I have already told you that most of the discussion which we will be doing under Negotiable Instrument Act, you are already aware of. आप सबको पता है. Certain sum of money only. Certain sum of money means, yes, yes, certain sum of money. What is it? Yes, at least give it a try. Am I audible to all?
Yes, sir.
Is my voice away? Okay, हाँ ठीक. तो मुझे लगा कि शायद कनेक्टिविटी का कुछ इश्यू रहेगा. मैं बोल रहा हूँ, आप लोग सुन नहीं पा रहे, इसीलिए शायद प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है. यस, बहुत ही सिंपल आंसर है और आप सबको पता है. पहला पॉइंट क्या था? प्रोमिसरी नोट इज अ रिटन डॉक्यूमेंट बट इट इज नॉट करेंसी नोट. पहला. दूसरा, इट कंटेन्स अनकंडीशनल अंडरटेकिंग, कि अनकंडीशनल अंडरटेकिंग होनी चाहिए. तीसरा क्या है? साइंड बाय द मेकर, जो व्यक्ति वो डॉक्यूमेंट बना रहा है उसके द्वारा उसके वहां पर सिग्नेचर होने चाहिए. तीसरा, टू पे अ सर्टेन सम ऑफ मनी ओनली. कितना सिंपल है, क्या नहीं समझ में आ रहा है यहाँ पे? यस, सर्टेन सम ऑफ मनी ओनली. SOME नहीं, SUM. What is it? Past.
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, we have seen one term in Contract Act called the contract should be certain. So here the certain means the price should be certain, whatever they have decided.
Very good. Can you give me example? Very good. You are correct.
Yes, sir. Example may be like if I purchase a refrigerator from a person and if I'm giving him a payment in check, so that check should be the certain price, like the refrigerator.
Go ahead.
The price what refrigerator contains, the check should be of that amount.
Very good. So certain amount means here whatever amount is owed by the maker, that amount should be mentioned. It should not be mentioned that I promise to pay Mr. So and so some amount. Here some amount means SOME, कि कुछ अमाउंट मैं उसे देना चाहता हूं. कुछ मतलब कितना? 1000, 2000, 3000 या कितना? वहां पर सर्टेन होना बहुत जरूरी है. मतलब कितना अमाउंट? 1000 अमाउंट देना है आपको उसको, या 2000 देना चाहते हैं, 5000 देना चाहते हैं, 10,000 देना चाहते हैं, वहां पर लिखना पड़ेगा. वहां पर SUM मतलब कितना अमाउंट वो लिखना जरूरी है। एसओएमई सम कि कुछ मैं वहां पर देना चाहता हूं, आई प्रॉमिस टू पे मिस्टर बी सम अमाउंट, एसओएमई कुछ अमाउंट देना चाहता हूं, अगर ऐसा लिख दिया तो इट इज नॉट एट ऑल अ प्रॉमिसरी नोट। The amount should be certain. I promise to pay Mr. B sum of 5,000 rupees. Then we can say that the amount is certain, right? So it is very simple. Very good. Now, here, to order of certain person or to the bearer of the instrument. We have to understand that in promissory note, two parties are involved. One is promisor and the other one is promisee. Promisor is the person who will be giving the written document, that is promissory note, or who will be making that promissory note. And the person who will be receiving that promissory note will be called as promisee. तो promisor जो व्यक्ति प्रॉमिस कर रहा है, जो व्यक्ति उसको बना रहा है वो डॉक्यूमेंट, जो बोल रहा है उस डॉक्यूमेंट में लिख कर कि मैं इतने दिन के पश्चात 5,000 रुपए मिस्टर बी को देने का प्रॉमिस करता हूं, जो व्यक्ति ये सब लिख के दे रहा है, दैट विल बी कॉल्ड एज प्रॉमिसर. एंड द पर्सन for whom this document is prepared, or the person who will be getting the possession of that document, that person is called as promisee. So here both the person should be mentioned, that the person who is preparing and the person for whom it is prepared, and that is called that are the essential elements of a promissory note, which are to be present in all the promissory notes. Then only those promissory notes can be called as a valid promissory note. Otherwise, if anyone is not present, if it is not signed, it will not be a valid promissory note. If amount is not mentioned, no valid promissory note. If to whom it is to be given, the opposite party is not mentioned, it is not a valid negotiable instrument under a promissory note. Now, this is an example of promissory note. 3 months after the date, I promise to pay Mr. Sham Shinde or order the sum of 1,000 rupees only for the value received. And this is the type of promissory note. Date is to be mentioned. The person to whom it is to be paid is mentioned. The address of the person is to be mentioned, and it is to be properly signed and stamped. Now here, suppose the person who has prepared this document, he has taken, say, a loan of 5,000 rupees, 3,000 rupees, 1,000 rupees, or he has taken some, say, material, कुछ सामान खरीदा, उधारी पे वो सामान लिया, अब उधारी चुकानी है, तो वहां पर लिख के दे दिया कि अभी तो मेरे पास पैसे नहीं है, पर मैं आपको लिख के दे देता हूं कि 3 महीने के पश्चात मैं आपको ये पैसा वापस कर दूंगा. तो ये प्रॉमिसरी नोट 3 महीने के लिए मिस्टर श्याम शिंदे के पास रहेगा, और 3 महीने के बाद वो उसमें मिस्टर जो भी मिस्टर ए है जिसने ये बनाया है, जिसने ये मिस्टर श्याम शिंदे को दिया है, उसके पास जाके वो 1,000 रुपए क्लेम कर सकते हैं. सो दैट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ प्रॉमिसरी नोट. Now this we have already discussed that writing, it should be in writing, certain sum, promise to pay, formalities like date, place, consideration, everything should be present. This we have already discussed. Now we will talk about bill of exchange. So a bill of exchange is an instrument in writing which contains an unconditional order signed by the maker directing a person to pay the sum of money only to or to the order of certain person or to the bearer of the instrument. Now in promissory note, we have seen that promise was made. In bill of exchange we will be seeing that it is order. वहां पर प्रॉमिस शब्द का यूज हो रहा है प्रॉमिसरी नोट्स में. बिल ऑफ एक्सचेंज में हमेशा जो शब्द यूज होगा वो होगा ऑर्डर. नाउ बिल ऑफ एक्सचेंज इज अ type of negotiable instrument. Again, it is regarded as unconditional order. There we had seen unconditional promise. Here we will be seeing the unconditional order. It has to be signed by the maker. There also we have seen that it should be signed by the maker. Here also we will see that it has to be signed by the maker. To or to the order of certain person or the bearer of the instrument. Again, here also the parties should be fixed. Here also the amount that is to be paid should also be fixed. Only thing which has changed is the words. Under promissory note, the term promise was used. Under bill of exchange, the word order is used. Now, the parties under the bill of exchange, there are 4 parties. One is called as drawer. The second party is called as drawee. Third party is called as acceptor. And the fourth party is called as payee. So drawer is the person who gives the order or who makes the bill is called as drawer. There we have seen that the person who is making the promissory note is called as promisor. Here the person who is making the bill of exchange is called as drawer. The person who is directed to pay the bill is called as drawee. So one person is preparing it and he is ordering someone else to pay the amount. And that person is called as drawee. Next, the third party is called as acceptor. Acceptor, when drawee accepts the bill, he becomes acceptor. And payee is the person to whom payment is to be made. तो जिस व्यक्ति को पेमेंट की जानी है, that person will be called as payee. So these are the 4 parties under the bill of exchange. We will stop here for today's session. In the next session, please come prepared for the meaning of these parties or the format of bill of exchange. We will discuss the format of bill of exchange also, and we will be discussing about the check and the types of various checks also. Yes, today because of some disturbance at my place, we will be ending the session before 5-6 minutes. So in the next session, we will try to cover all these remaining points. So thank you everyone for being present today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.